Imagine this. A Russian Su-35 tears toward NATO waters at nearly Mach 1.2. But what the pilot doesn't know is that he's about to fly into the most unforgiving surveillance net on Earth. What follows is a knife edge, dance between human instinct, machine precision, and brutal northern physics. Stay with me, because the twist in this battle is something no one planned for. The Barents Sea is unforgiving, steel-gray waves, freezing spray, and air so cold it bites through gloves. The Norwegian frigate H-Noms Fridtjof Nansen cuts through the water, its bow smashing into wind shear gusts strong enough to vibrate the deck plating. Inside the Combat Information Center, lights are low, screens hum. Operators watch radar scopes with the kind of focus that only exists when you know something big is coming. Then, one blip, bright, fast, tight Doppler compression. The SPY-1F radar isolates it, a Russian Su-35S, pushing Mach 118, heading straight for the surface group. 3 sharp warning tones echo through CIC. Normally, sailors tease the system for sounding like incoming paperwork. Not today. This tone means business. Everyone straightens. No chatter, no jokes. Just the cold process of threat evaluation. But while tension builds at sea level, NATO's real advantage is already circling above, watching silently. 2 MQ-25D Longhawk ISR drones fly lazy arcs in the sky. They burn just Dium-42 fuel, ridiculously efficient compared to manned aircraft. Their wide wings flex slightly in the cold air as their ESA radars sweep like giant invisible blades. Suddenly a spike hits the sensor feed. A thermal bloom, huge, unstable. That's the Su-35's AL-41F-1S engines, burning too hot. Russian pilots often ride the throttle hard in Arctic air because dense cold air makes the aircraft feel sluggish. More thrust means faster response, but it also means a brighter thermal signature. To the drones, the fighter looks like a miniature sun screaming across the sky. The drones automatically widen their orbit by 400 meters, creating a triangulated radar crossfire. They don't think about it. They don't debate. They just adapt. That's the terrifying part of modern warfare. Drones don't hesitate. Humans do. The Su-35 rolls slightly, brings its nose down, and snaps the airspace radar into a 20-kilometer narrow beam lock. A straight electromagnetic spear aimed at Longhorn 1. The drone's threat computer instantly calculates the geometry. Optimal move? Drop below the fighter radar's minimum elevation detection gate. Longhawk 1 pitches down at 28 deg, diving to 17,500 ft. Bleeding speed from 0.78 Mach to 0.61. A clean maneuver, predictable, elegant, machine perfect. But nature throws a wrench into the calculation. A temperature inversion, layer common over now. Freezing sea, bends part of the radar beam downward. The Su-35 sees a ghost track, not fully real, just enough to convince the pilot he's still painting the drone. And that small ghosting error will come back later with a vengeance. Meanwhile, something small and almost forgettable creeps into the battle space. A Russian Orlan 30 reconnaissance drone flies just 380 meters above the water. It rides between 3.2-meter wave troughs, using the sea itself as cover. Radar pulses bounce unpredictably off the choppy surface, making the drone look like noise, static, or a drifting bird. Its mission? Trigger NATO's fire control AI. Force the frigate to launch an SM-2 too early. Waste $1 million missile. The Aegis system flags it as possible hostile. The algorithms want to engage, but the operators override. Calm, controlled. Nobody wants to explain to command why they used advanced naval weaponry to destroy a glorified hobby drone made of plywood and tape. These are the moments people forget, where humans quietly save millions of dollars by telling the machine to relax. Map zooms out, soft heartbeat SFX. Now the board is set. A supersonic Russian fighter above. A low-profile recon drone skimming the waves. 2 NATO ISR platforms tracking every move. And a frigate sitting right in the middle of it all. The tension is rising, and every system, human and machine, is seconds away from making decisions that could trigger a chain reaction. The Russian Su-35 makes the first aggressive move. A sudden flash under the wing, then the R-77-1 missile kicks free and ignites. It screams forward at 4.5 Mach, slicing through cold air like a white-hot spear. Longhawk 1 reacts before any human could. The drone drops a cold gas, flare, barely a puff of thermal contrast, and yanks into a 5.2 G brake turn. No heartbeat, no hesitation, just machine logic calculating survival. The R-77 overshoots by 61 meters. Its seeker wobbles, fails to reacquire, and triggers Russian safety protocol. Disarm to avoid friendly fire. 1 missile down. The Su-35 still committed. Now NATO answers. The Fridtjof Nansen's vertical launch cell erupts as an SM-2MR tears upward, accelerating past 3,500 kmh. Its booster burns a bright column of flame that cuts through the morning haze. The missile arcs toward 6,100 meters, locking onto the Su-35's radar signature even as the fighter twists to evade. Below, the Orlan 30 recon drone still skims the waves. Unnoticed and unthreatened, it has done its job, dividing attention, injecting noise into the battle space like a cheap decoy with expensive consequences. But NATO systems aren't fooled. The SM-2 ignores the Orlan entirely. The logic tree recognizes the drone as too slow, too cold, too small. This missile wants the fighter, and it's closing fast. Longhook 2 descends sharply, aiming for a clean laser designation on the Orlan. It would be surgical, quiet, low collateral, and humiliating for the Russians. But nature interferes again. Salt spray and humidity scatter the drone's optics for exactly 0.2 seconds, just long enough for the Orlan to duck into sea clutter. Target lost, opportunity missed, a tiny environmental hiccup, a massive tactical consequence. The SM-2 closes to 740 meters. The Su-35 deploys a wall of magnesium bright. Countermeasure flares, so hot they briefly saturate NATO's sensors. Then the pilot switches to L-band spoofers, hoping to scramble the missile's seeker logic. But the updated SM-2 isn't fooled. Its contextual filters ignore thermal spikes that don't match a real target's acceleration curve. The missile simply doesn't care. Impact. The explosion tears through the fighter's left engine, sending shock waves through the airframe. Hydraulics bleed down to 11%. The Su-35 begins a wobbling descent, half glide, half fall. The pilot tries to nurse it home. He won't get the chance. Longhook 1 reacquires from the earlier radar ghosting error. It releases a 14-kilo guided glide charge, a small, deadly, almost polite weapon. It hits the failing Su-35 square in the fuselage. The jet blossoms into shards of titanium, shattered composite, and vaporized fuel.